Hi everyone, I want to talk about that. I don't even know what it is yet. It's a Vauxhall Calibra. It's 1995. She's got a few miles on her. Bit of the story to this vehicle was bought by a friend of mine. I say bought, he swapped a car for it. This has been stood for a few years. We don't know exactly how long it's been stood for. Obviously you can see we've had to go up polishing the paint up. It doesn't come up too bad. It's old. It's had some paintwork before that's not great. But it's workable. See, we've had the engine bay apart a bit. It's been stood so long we've had to pull the injector rail off, clean all the injectors out. We had to clean. We've replaced all the fuel hose from front to rear. We even had a split steel hose back near the tank. We had to drop the tank down and clean the tank out. It stunk. It was nasty. It was really nasty. So yeah, we've replaced all that. We had to put a new fuel pump in the tank because the old one, it sort of worked, but it was all varnished up inside. So it wasn't the best in the world. As you can see from the interior, so my mate's Mrs. Manda, she went through and cleaned up the entire interior because it had got a lot of mould in it. It's not come up too bad, to be entirely honest. The whole roof lining was covered in mould. He's already found a new seat for the driver's side because that's obviously really bad. But it has got 250,000 miles on the clock. Interesting story though. So this was a what was it now? So for the first few years of its life, it was like a lease hire or fleet car, if you want. And in the first 5 years, it did 180,000 miles. So it clocked up some mileage in those first few years. And then obviously it's been pretty well looked after and just sort of garaged a lot. I suspect from the state of the fuel system, it's got to have been stood 5 years or more. I don't see how it could have been any shorter time than that for that fuel to go that bad. I mean, if it was modern fuel with ethanol in it, it could have been 2 years. But this was stood because ethanol's obviously only been introduced over the last couple of years. So it's got to have been 5+ years this has been sat. So the car dealer bought it off of somebody. My mate Alex, he swapped it for a 19 CDTI Vauxhall Astra. Like I say, we've pulled the system apart. It still needs some bits and pieces, so we've ordered a seat. This exhaust box, even though it doesn't look that old, and it's still got the sticker on it, has fell apart inside. I don't know if it's had rodents living in it, to be entirely honest. But the exhaust system, that box, there's actually another box in the middle that has also fell apart, but it still breathes through it, so it's okay. Although it has still got the original catalytic converter on it. A 1995 car with the original catalytic converter. You wouldn't believe it, would you? It starts, it runs, it drives, so the brakes, get you in it. Ooh, no light. The brakes are rusty. Let's get a torch. There you can see. The brakes were really rusty. Surprisingly, the handbrake didn't work, and now if you don't know anything about these are prone for the backing plates right now, and you can't buy them. They're loving the money. You cannot buy the rocket backing plates for these because the handbrake is internal. As you can see, they actually have started to clean up now though, because we took it for a little drive last night. So the brakes have started to clean up a little. Camera, thank you. We checked all the brakes, obviously made sure they were all free and everything was working on the front and rear. As you can see, they're a little bit on the not so good side. In fact, here he is. So yeah, they're a little bit on the not so good side. But 1 second. So here he is, the man, the myth, the legend,
how we doing?
The idiot that bought the Calibra. So as I was saying, so he had a problem with the immobiliser, which he's managed to get sorted out, because that was the original reason it was left, was because the immobiliser didn't come off. The immobiliser now does come off. And when you consider that is the second time that's been started in 2 days. Got a few little issues, water leak from the radiator, but got a radiator on the way. But she runs alright. And the more it runs, the better it seems to run, to be fair. Oh, is it? So it's 2016, 2017 it was stood. So I was right, it's over 5 years for that fuel system to have gone that bad, because that smelt bad, didn't it? That was yeah. And it burned as well when you got it on your fingers. Yeah. Petrol normally doesn't burn like that, but that did.
Got a few chemical burns.
So yeah, we've got to sort the exhaust out, get the new seat put in, get a radiator in it, obviously do all the oils, filters, get everything changed out. We have got an ABS issue as well. But it does run and it does drive. So it will be saved.
Fair enough. I couldn't have done it without you. If I didn't have you, it'd still be sat on the trailer on the driveway now. So, yeah.
You'd still be procrastinating about it slightly.
massive shout out to RM Mechanical.
So, let's throw it up on the lift and show you the really amazing bit about this car. Sorry, Ray. Moving on up. That's it. Here we go. So, if you know Vauxhall Calibras, you know that Vauxhall Calibras, especially the earlier ones, were really good at one thing. It wasn't handling, it wasn't running well, it was rust. They were really good at rust. But this one it's a survivor. It's going to need a bit of tidying up underneath, but it is a survivor. So we come under here. I mean, look at this. Look at it. Normally, I mean, you can see there's a tiny bit of surface rust there. Normally, they're gone.
Normally shot, aren't they?
Yeah, normally shot all the way across here. Light surface rust. Even the sills, they were terrible. But the sill lips, a couple of bits of rust. It's nothing. Front subframe. Yeah, it's rusty. It's a bit dirty. You know. But did a little test there yesterday with some rust converter, cleaned it up, rust converted it. The plan is to get this all taken apart at some point. We're going to get it on the road, get it running, driving, get an MOT on it, and then the plan is to have a little bit of a project and pull the subframes off and get them all cleaned up, painted. I'm going to paint them with epoxy, and then the car's going to be cavity wax injected, and it's going to have the hole underneath waxed, just to really tidy it up and protect it so it will carry on surviving for a lot longer. As you can see, like I say, the backing plates are still there. All that was wrong with the handbrake was one broken clip.
It's a rarity to find one that's got good backing plates.
So as you can see, we had to run a temporary fuel line there. Temporary, you know, it works. Because the steel lines from there forward are actually really good. But as soon as we put the fuel pump in, the fuel line up here that runs from here down to there, it popped.
It let go in that P-clip, didn't it?
Yeah, it let go in there and just popped a hole in it and started spraying fuel on the floor. And that stuff's expensive. So
yeah, we didn't cut corners with the fuel. It's just, it's really, really rare to come.
So it's also rare that we've got this part here, the back panel.
That panel's fantastic.
You see it's had a little bit of a push on the back end at some point. Somebody's just nudged it and bent the bar a bit, but a couple of bits of rust. Nothing really major. So yeah, obviously it needs a shock. We've got one of them on the way as well. I know, shocking. Oh yeah, I did.
It's hard to believe it's done 225,000 miles and it's come out so well, but then you go to a 12, 13 plate Fiesta or Focus or anything,
And it's fell apart.
You know, and they've done half the miles.
So there's the original cat. We didn't even notice that there was the original cat to start with, but
just saying, GMO4.
But I noticed it had got the original springs and bolts on, and I thought that was a bit strange. And it was a bit later, it was like, well, is that an original cat then, or is it a Euro cat? No, it's the original. I mean, most of those now have been robbed and scrapped out. I mean, that thing's probably rarer than the car.
And she's still there.
And it's still there. The engine, as you can see, she's definitely been stood around a bit because we've got a lot of cobwebs. We suspect we're going to end up going through and having to do a lot of seals and bits and pieces. As you can see, that sump gasket, that's...
Seen better days.
Yeah, we might have to do that sooner rather than later, you know. Like before you drive it to Scotland.
And then it'll go out for its first couple of runs and then oil will start leaking everywhere because everything's gone, no, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, I mean, we've got to check the engine mounts because the engine does seem to move a lot. Has anybody seen the horn? Oh dear. We'll just avoid that. Yeah, so it's not in bad nick. There's going to be a lot more done to it yet. Like I say, we're going to be playing with the engine and getting all this the oil leak stopped. I'll put a cam belt on it and belts and bits and pieces. Get it MOT'd and then you know, maybe it might need 5 psi of boost.
It's definitely having some boost. She's not getting wrapped up in cotton wool, it'll be enjoyed.
This car is not going to be sat in a garage. It's going to be driven. It's going to be used. That's what it was made for. At the end of the day, we'll get everything rust-proofed underneath so it's not going to fall apart. Get everything tidied up so it's good to go. And we'll make a good car out of it and it'll be driven and used like it was intended to be. Ooh, I've kicked the funnel. At least it wasn't the bucket. So yeah, there's a tour of the old Calibra. Thanks everybody for watching. There will probably be more on this at some point, and keep your eyes out for that if you're interested. Give us a thumbs up and a like, and we'll catch you on the next one.